Hey guys, Leilani Joy here with another episode of The Paint Along, the show where you can paint along with me in real time while I answer your art and not so art related questions. So before we jump in, make sure you go grab your art supplies or your homework from my class or your knitting or a pumpkin to carve since it's that time of year. And let's create together while I answer your questions and start on a new painting that I am super excited about, and I can't wait to show you what I'm doing. So I've got all my necessary supplies, I think, including my Earl Grey tea and my favorite mug. I don't know if have I ever told you guys this, like, about my really odd obsession with the 1998 Winter Olympics in Nagano, Japan mascots, the Snowlets. I have had a very long time obsession with them since they were first on TV in 1998, and it was my dream to own as much Snowlet stuff as possible. And I really wasn't able to get a hold of anything until later in my come here, adult life, and things like eBay made that possible for me. So I have like a Snowlet collection, and no one really seems to understand this obsession. Most people are like, those are the ugliest things ever, but I love them. This is my personal favorite, Suki. So anyways, yeah, now you guys know a random fact about me, and I have a strange collection of the 1998 Nagano Olympics mascots. The Snowlets again. Anyway, let's jump into this painting. I have a lot of questions to answer today, and I can't wait to get in. It seems like it's been a really long time since I did one of these. I guess things have just been crazy. So they don't tell you this, okay? But after you get married, there is like a ton of other work to do. You have to get your name changed, which is like a huge ordeal. I have to like change all my credit cards, my social security. We have to send thank you notes. We have to write reviews for all our vendors. We have to sort through all our pictures and share them with family and get them printed and make books out of them. And anyway, so that's been like a whole nother project I have to do. Plus getting back to creating art and everything. So anywho, before I give you the big reveal, this month I am doing a piece for the Bad Apple Artists Collective, and our theme this month is Black Magic. Who doesn't love that, okay? So I just was like, this is the perfect time to do a tribute piece to one of my all-time favorite muses, the Grand High Witch from Witches. And I'm going to show you where I'm at with the piece, so let's take a look. So here's a little preview of the value study of my piece. And so funny story about this actually is I was going to do a different thing, and I was just in a really like I have no ideas kind of mode, and it took me a whole day to do a thumbnail that I don't know, I wasn't really confident with it. And then while I was working on it and it was not ready for review, my husband, Brian, who's also an artist, like he was like coming over my shoulder and he's like, oh, like, he's like, that's kind of, he's like, I don't know if that works. And I don't know if I would do that. And I'm just like, I did not ask you. Anyways, so this is the thing about two artists living in the same house, okay? Like, he totally didn't mean it, but I was already in a very vulnerable state with it. And him just kind of correcting me when I wasn't even, like, ready for it, it just, like, psyched me out. And I ditched it. I couldn't. I don't know. I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to go back to the drawing board because he was right. I didn't want to hear it, but he was right. So anyways, I took a whole day off and I was like, I hate everything. I hate everyone. Blah. And then when I was taking a bathtub, I came up with this idea. I don't know. I was like, what if I had like an elongated kind of fashion-y illustration? And I had the Grand High Witch here, and she's holding the Formula 86. And I don't know. I was like, damn, that's cool. Okay, I like that. So anyway, so I did this little rough value study to kind of plot out the composition. And then from there I did some colors, and I already have the drawing transferred for you guys. So we can just kind of jump in today because I already have some of this fun stuff done. So I am kind of going off hopefully you guys have seen the movie The Witches, or you've read the Roald Dahl book. But this is based on the film version featuring the amazing Angelica Houston. And the poster kind of color palette with this like sickly poisony green, and then I'm gonna have the black silhouette and the purple and everything. So I'm really excited about this piece, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. So let's get started on the questions, and I'm going to start putting my paint down. Also, to save us some magical time today, magical time, I don't know what I'm saying. I have pre-mixed my colors today, so you guys don't have to watch a half an hour of Leilani Joy doing this in a cup. Because usually, I mean, color matching takes a long time, so I've saved us a little time with that. I've come up with some nice colors that I like for things. Sorry about that. And so I'm just going to start laying in these nice flat colors while we get to the questions. Okay, so my first question today comes from Islam, and they say, "Hey Leilani, I'm going to be participating in a show that will allow me to bring prints. My question is, how many should I bring of each painting? What is the magic number?" That's a good question, and actually it looks like a really awesome fellow YouTuber gave you a great answer, so I'm just going to kind of reiterate what they say here. There's no magic number. I mean, it's impossible to know what the crowd is going to be like, you know, if people are there to buy. It's always a little bit of a toss-up. I've done shows where I totally didn't expect to sell anything and I sold a ton, and then other shows where I came super prepared and I sold nothing. So, I mean, the best thing about prints, like this lovely It's Sadie Bitch also recommended that prints don't go bad. It's not food, so it's always something you can store and reuse for another show. So, depending on the size of the show, the venue, probably 2 to 3 of each is probably plenty to start. It's different if you're doing like a vendor show where people are coming to buy things. Usually I bring quite a lot of inventory for something like that. But for a gallery opening, the public is fickle. Sometimes they just come for free wine and to look at art, and they don't really want to buy anything. So I would say just, you're going to have to feel that one out a little bit. There's definitely no exact answer. So good luck with your show. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. And like It's Sadie Bitch also recommended, if you run out, you can send them to your online store, or if you don't sell them, just reuse them for another event. So there you have it. All right, next I have a question, or actually, it looks like it's a comment from my lovely friend VJ, and he said, "So I went on Leilani's Instagram and I clicked hashtag Leilani Joy, and I'm crying because there's all Leilani's artwork and then this random child." So I think if you guys don't know what we're talking about, last time on the paint along, I mentioned that there's this woman who named her baby Leilani Joy, and this lady is taking over my art hashtag because I just use Leilani Joy for my art, and every 5 minutes she's tagging her baby Leilani Joy. So it is definitely kind of funny. So it's art, and baby pictures. So if you're into that, there you go. Best of both worlds. Okay, my next question comes from Ivana B. And she asks, "The thing that really bothers me is that a lot of times I have an amazing idea and I visualize the painting, but when I have to paint it, I can't find a way to make it look the way I imagined." Oh, so you have every single artist ever, same problem, is what you're saying. Something is always off. It could be that I'm not skilled enough, but putting that aside, do you have any advice on how to overcome that? Greetings from Croatia. Oh, awesome. Hello. Boy, you know what, Ivana, I wish I had an answer for you on that. Honestly, I would say this is the main struggle of being an artist. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't talked to every artist there is on earth, but I would guesstimate that almost every artist would say it is a very rare occurrence that a piece comes out like they wanted or better than. That's probably even more rare. I think the advice that I would give you is to actually throw that expectation out the window, because it's almost an unachievable goal. Art is just as much about problem solving than it is creative expression. It's almost impossible for you to usually get your idea down is exactly as it is in your head. For one like thing that I've determined about this is usually like when it's in your head, it's kind of abstract in a way. It's not usually like you see this exact pose. It's more of like an impression of an idea, if that makes sense. So it's a very difficult thing to try to take this blurry impression, which is, perfect in your mind, and interpret that to be in reality. So I would just recommend you to give yourself a little wiggle room. Don't marry that idea in your head so much that there's no surprises, because part of the great part of making art is like, oh wow, I didn't expect it to go that way, but hey, now it's maybe better for it. And the other thing is that people, your audience, they have no idea what you saw in your head. So for all they know, that is exactly what you saw, and it's beautiful. So this piece I'm doing here today is a good example. Like I said earlier, is I was kind of marrying this this vision I saw in my head, and it was not really working. I was like, I want these elements and I'm trying to force them to fit together. And the truth is they just didn't really look that visually great. So even though I thought I had a good idea in my head, bringing it all together is something different. So I really, really, truly feel that art is also, there's an analytical element to it. And this is basically what I teach in my online class, is there is formulas to making pleasing imagery. Now, again, if you're just an abstract kind of painter, which even there are definitely techniques and composition involved with that as well. But if you're just like, if you're trying to create something that's pleasing to most people, there is some planning involved. And for me, that's often the most difficult part, is deciding what the pose is, how the elements are going to work together, the composition, the values. So it's not like, I personally never sit down and just start to paint. I mean, you guys know that. That's way too terrifying for me. Maybe some artists do that. I know they do, but that's not my style. And I think maybe you're a little more like me, where you want to kind of have a clear idea of where you're going before you start. So anyways, I got a little bit off topic, but basically my answer is to kind of let that go a little bit and open yourself up to experimentation. Try to solve it like it's a problem, and just say, how can I get this idea across in a clear, concise, well-designed way and make my concept work. So think of it more like that. Like, this is just a concept to go off of. It's not going to literally be what's in my head. And again, practice some self-forgiveness. All of us artists are hard on ourselves, and sometimes you're like, man, that had some great potential and it just didn't work out the way I wanted to. And give yourself some self-love, hugs, and move on to the next one. And I guarantee you there will be times where you weren't really sure what you wanted to do. You didn't have this great idea in your head, and then it unexpectedly surprises you and you end up with a great piece too. So I hope that helps. I feel your pain, and I know that this is probably one of the most common plights of the artist. So rest assured that you're not alone in that. So speaking of problem solving, you probably see that I've already gone back a step here. I thought that I liked that value that I mixed, this green color here. But when I got it on, it was looking a little darker than I intended. And I know that acrylic paint dries even darker than it looks when it's wet. So I'm kind of having an interesting value challenge here, because what I want is the center area to be black, darkest. And then I'm going to have a purple, which is the next darkest. And then I want this sort of the background shape here to be the lightest. And I'm kind of nervous because that looked really dark. So I think I'm going to actually paint my purple on first, and then I'll go back and do that, because I want it to be sort of like, as they call it, like a third read. So I want it to push back atmospherically into the background a little bit. So I don't know. I wasn't sure about it, so I wiped it off. Commit, okay? Let it happen. But yeah, so as you guys know, with my pieces, which I usually really like to focus on silhouettes and flat graphic shapes a lot in my pieces, the value is really important that I get that right, because if I don't, it's not gonna, it just doesn't work as well. And this is something I tell my students all the time, is to pre-plan your values, because how a piece reads at a distance determines how strong of a design it is. It does not matter how detailed it is. Honestly, a strong piece that can read from far away is a good piece up close as well. So I don't know, just something to keep in mind, and something that I'm trying to always strive for myself. So I'm gonna do her cape skirt here in purple first, because I did mix a purple that I really liked, and so I'm gonna use that to go off of. And then see, I mean, that green which I made here looks fine, and then I'm just not really sure why it started to look so dark. Anyways, okay, next, moving on. Okay, next I have a question from Language Geek, and they ask, who is your favorite character from Stranger Things, and which was your favorite episode? Oh man, that show was awesome. First of all, I think I talked about that a little bit on my last episode. Favorite character? I don't know. I really love all the characters. I think it has great characters. I love 11, obviously, because she's just the most like badass little girl ever, and she's great, and she's a great little actress, and can't wait for season 2. But I love the kid that's missing his front teeth. I'm forgetting his name. Crap. But he's just adorable. I love that kid. I'm like, that almost makes me want to have a child, so he could be like that cool little kid. I love Jonathan, the photographer boy, because he's pretty much like my ideal high school boyfriend, that like kind of hot, misunderstood, emo goth boy, artistic type. So I'm like, aw. I liked a kid in school like that, except he was a skateboarder also, and I'm like, if only he would talk to me. Oh, nostalgia. Favorite episode? I don't know if I could choose a favorite episode. That show works so well together as a whole, as a piece, that I'm not sure if I could even choose one. It almost flows. Probably you noticed this since you binge watched it in one day. You said that it really flows like a movie. So it's almost hard to even like pick out specific episodes. So great show. If you haven't seen it, watch it now. It's absolutely perfect for Halloween time. All right, next I have a question from George Z. Since you and Brian are getting married, we are now, I was wondering what you would name your kids if you decide to have any. Also, I think that people who whine about you always drawing yourself are just jealous. Hell yeah, they jealous. So jealous of my boogie. Oh, yeah. So yeah, we don't know if we're gonna have kids, so I don't know. We're still on the fence about that. As far as names, like, we have talked about a few. But like, I kind of feel like it's one of those weird, like, people get really weird about this, and I guess I kind of am too, is if you come up with like a great name, like if you tell everyone, then everyone starts naming their kid that, and then it's like on the top 10 list, and then they end up having 20 of those in their kindergarten class, and you're like, Okay, Zahara A, Zahara B, Zahara C. It's like, okay, now everyone's named Zahara this year. That's the most popular name. So I don't really know. I used to, when I was a teenager, I used to keep like a little book of names that I liked for my future children. And I go back and look at them now and they like make me laugh so hard. Like one of my favorite girl names was Callista. And I don't know if I even like knew about Callista Flockhart, the actress, Ally McBeal actress or anything. I just really liked that. I wrote that down. I liked Bella, and then that became the like Twilight thing. So I mean, I couldn't use that anymore. So it's kind of funny, like what happens, and certain names get like connotations to other things that you don't really want connected. So it is very funny like that. But I don't know. We haven't really discussed that too much. It's sort of like, it's one of those subjects that like has become like too real now. It's like, oh, kids, whatever. And now it's like, okay, you guys are married, you're in your 30s, like, are you having kids? And I'm like, I just like want to paint and play video games and collect plushies and take naps. I'm not sure how children fit into that. I don't know, actually, on the subject, are any of you guys artists or professional artists that have kids? Because it is a subject of anxiety for me, actually, because I feel like it's something that I should start thinking about, or I should decide in the near-ish future. And I don't know, I know a lot of artists now are choosing not to. Artists, I feel in a certain way, we're sort of selfish creatures. We have this need to like make things, and we're not satisfied with just, you go to a job, you come home, and then you're disconnected from that, and you can be there for your kids and stuff. I would worry about balancing that and being like, okay, I can't take that time now to get an idea down. It's a sacrifice. I mean, it's a sacrifice probably for any job, any career, but I do feel like being an artist is not something that you turn off, if that makes sense. And obviously our schedules are a little erratic. Mine certainly is. And it's something that I do for myself, and I'm not sure how I would fit another human being into that. And my husband, who is also an artist, he understands that and feels that also. So I don't know. I wonder sometimes. I would love to hear some feedback from fathers and mothers who are creatives and how you make that work. Because I have heard from some lovely women who've said, I love to paint. I was creative and I had my kids and I lost that. And that makes me sad and scared, being perfectly honest and vulnerable with you guys. I don't know if I want to sacrifice that. I know it's not forever. They go to school and then you get a little more freedom, things like that. But I just don't know yet. I really don't. To be honest, I really not a baby person. I just like, it's like, oh, it's cute. I don't want to touch it or anything. I don't want it to like throw up or poop or whatever. I mean, it's cute over there, but like, and the screaming on the airplanes, that's like a thing for me. I cannot. It's like I hate it. It turns me into a monster. I'm just like, gah! Anyways, I guess you just become more patient though when it's your own, I guess. That or you invest in earplugs. Anyway, that was a slight sidebar there into my personal life, but yeah, since you asked. Okay, next let's move on to Mini C-Star. Hey, Mini C-Star, you're back. Hello again. Hello. Have you ever tried customizing, or have you seen custom Monster High dolls? I remember you had shown us one in in one of your videos recently, and I have started customizing them. I love custom Monster High dolls. In fact, I have a whole Pinterest page, a Pinterest board for custom dolls because I just think they're so rad. I have only done a tiny bit of experimentation with them. I actually would really love to. My Bad Apple group, we have discussed doing a custom doll auction. So, I mean, I would be definitely down for that. If you guys are into that, come on to our page at facebook.com/badappleartistcollective and be like, dolls, dolls, push us towards it. Because we're kind of like doing it by vote, so we kind of have to have all of the group sort of decide on that. But if you guys are down, I mean, definitely we'll do it. So yeah, I think they're really, really cool. I did nothing really. I have, here, I'll get my doll so you can see what I did. And I wanted to make her sort of my own customized alter ego Leilani Joy doll because I was rocking this hair at the time. And I bought this little dress for her on Etsy. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? And I got her some shoes and she got some ooh, sneaky peek. But anyways, she had blue lips when I bought her and I wanted to give her some more signature Leilani Joy like red. So I bought acetone, which you buy like the pure like hardcore acetone, and then you take a little Q-tip and you can actually take the makeup off of these things. And then I just painted it back on with acrylic. So yeah, you can take all of the eye off and you can custom paint your own Monster High dolls, which might be fun for some of you guys to play around with. I certainly got just a taste of it and then I'm like, oh my God, this is so addicting. And I could easily start spending all my money on buying custom hair and clothes and doing these dolls, which, is there money to be made in it? I don't really know. I mean, to be honest with you, I have to kind of focus my attention mostly on earning my living. So custom dolls, I'm not really sure is if that is a career path I want to pursue, but you never know. It is definitely something fun to experiment with. All right, next I have a question from Emmy L. And Emmy asks, my question is, what is your favorite female character in a video game? Oh boy. Female shepherd from Mass Effect, because it's me. I don't know. That's hard. Of course, Zelda. I'm a big Zelda fan. Especially when she's not like just needing to be rescued. She's like actually like a ninja and stuff. I mean, that was so awesome. No spoilers, but that was one of the coolest reveals in a game ever in Zelda Ocarina of Time, when you find out that this really sweet ninja person who's like helping you is actually Zelda. And I'm like, what? That's so cool. I don't know. I have a very, very long time obsession with Chun-Li from Street Fighter. I basically wanted to be Chun-Li most of my life, hence why I still rock the double bun hair since I was a kid. And it's double bun hair is like made a huge comeback again, and I'm like, hey, for me it never left. I actually was brave enough. I made my own, you know how she wears the little white bun covers with the little bows? I made those and I wore them to school. Like, I was like, I don't even know if the kids knew what I was doing, but I was like, I'm gonna be Chun-Li today. So here's the weird conundrum about me. I don't know, I guess I've just always had this like lurking deep below. But I was a very shy kid. I didn't really like anyone pointing me out. But I also really liked to push the envelope a little bit about like what I would wear, and just like I was weird. I kind of like wanted to just do things, and I did them, and then kids would kind of tease me, and I'm like, I guess I asked for it, but I still wanted to do it. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I guess I just kept that sort of weird creative part of me bottled up, and it leaked out sometimes. So I've probably mentioned this before, but one of my all-time favorite artist tools are Q-tips. And people often ask me, like, how do you get such nice clean edges? Q-tips. That's how. I get them a little bit damp on one end, and then I just will, before the paint's like all the way dry, I'll just kind of clean up an edge with a damp Q-tip, and it's amazing. And they're cheap. You can get them at the dollar store because they don't have to be real like soft or whatever. And they're awesome, and then you just throw them away. They're probably not like super environmental, but sorry about it. The other thing I was just gonna make an observation. I guess is more of like a note to self, but I used acrylic spray paint to do the background on here. I love this technique because I'm a stickler for flat, even colors and gradients, and I've gotten pretty good at spray painting nice gradients. However, as much as I like the spray paint, I noticed that it gives a very slick surface. So, I mean, I usually paint on the pre-gessoed board, but even those have like just a little bit of tooth to grab the paint. And the spray paint layer is so slippery that the paint is kind of like sliding off, which is a bit of an irritant. But what I'm going to do is just kind of layer it, because now that I have one layer of this, it'll dry and then I can build on top of that. But it's kind of, yeah, it's just a little bit of a nuisance to deal with that. Okay, so next I'm going to let that purple dry on there, and then I'm gonna start with painting the black area next. Okay, next I have a question from Susie Squidding. Hello, Susie. How are you? It's really fun to see a lot of you guys return viewers and recognize your names. It's like we're having a dialogue, right? So today Susie asks, do you have any thoughts on looking after your arms, shoulders, and hands as a working artist? And her second question is, have you watched Avatar Legend of Aang or Legend of Korra? I haven't seen those. I'm not sure. Like, are there animated films or was it a TV show? I don't know. I'm just showing like how old I am. I haven't really heard much about them. I know they have a strong fan base. I should probably check it out though. No, I haven't seen those. As far as looking after your arms, shoulders, and hands as a working artist, yeah, I have great advice for that. Do the opposite of everything that you see me doing right now. This is terrible. It's terrible. Though, to be honest with you, I also have this it's on my other work table over there, but it's a tabletop easel, and I can't pick it up because it's too far away and heavy. But basically, I can prop up my painting like this, and I can paint like sitting up straight, which is way, way better for your back. The only problem is I have a bit of a conundrum with my camera setup because I get the best process video when it's straight down. Sometimes you guys have probably seen me use my camera on my tripod kind of over shoulder, and then you can see me painting upright, which I may do more of that. In the paint-alongs, it's harder for me to do that. But I do recommend sitting up straight as much as you can so you can have your arm up in this position while you paint. That is way, way better for your hand and wrist. Hunching like a hunchback like I do is probably going to come back and haunt me terribly in my old age, and there will no longer be Leilani Joy on YouTube because she'll be broken. So don't do that. There's also, if you have RSI, like I actually do have, but that's mostly from the computer and using the mouse and clicking and stuff. I do have an ergonomic arm rest that I rest my elbow on, and this improves that motion. And then I have a ergonomic mouse, which really helped my RSI. And I also did some, heat and ice therapy, which helped with that. Gentle exercises, stretching, one of those, like ball things is good. Definitely. I mean, I'm like not a good example, but I really do encourage you guys to take care of your back, neck, shoulders. Get massages. Massages are great. Exercising. I've been going climbing, to the climbing gym, which strengthened my lower back and stuff, which is all good for your posture and everything. I mean, I'm not like a doctor or anything. I can't like tell you for sure, but unfortunately part of my livelihood is painting and videos, so I kind of have to like make it work. But if you're not doing that, then you don't have to worry about this mess that I've created for myself. Okay, brushy. I've selected you. All right, my next question comes from H.C. Brown. And they say, I was wondering if you'll ever make an art book of all your paintings. I love art books, and I think you could sell those really fast. If not, I understand. Oh, I would love to make an art book as well. I think I've answered this. I have answered variations of this before. But really the main issue right now is that, so books kind of work one of two ways. You either have someone publish it for you, which is basically like you go to a publisher and you say, here's my art, maybe you have some of it laid out already, and you go, would you basically produce this for me? Or you self-publish, which means you put up all your own money to have the book printed, to keep the inventory, and then sell it yourself. So my problem is that I'm kind of somewhere in between, I think. I'm not big enough to like have some company say, we want to produce a book of your art. Definitely haven't been approached for that yet. I mean, those that get that are usually pretty big artists that, the publisher knows they're going to make a lot of money from this as well. And I'm not quite rich enough to have enough. I mean, I would expect that to have a book produced, you would need somewhere between at least $5,000 and $10,000 just to get them produced. It costs a lot. You'd have to hire some people to help you. So I don't have that sitting around. I mean, I'm happy I make a living, but I don't usually make enough to say, hey, I'm going to put this into an investment project. So that's what Kickstarter and things are for. However, at the moment, I just don't have time to put together a Kickstarter. My number one priority right now is to finish my second class and basically keep up with creating art and my videos for you guys. So, as I learned from my last Kickstarter, which was an amazing, amazing experience, it's a huge amount of work just to create a Kickstarter. It was like writing a master thesis, I tell you. So it would be a lot, and I want to do it. I do want to do it. I'm kind of like, I would love to do sort of like a themed book. I showed you guys this book a while ago. I don't know where it went. It's not around me anymore. But by this artist named Matteo De Longis, and he did just the coolest art book I've ever seen. I actually bought it based on the cover alone. It was sealed in plastic and I couldn't even open it, but I loved it so much that I took a chance. I bought it at the bookstore in Japantown, and it was like an album. It was designed like an album, and the whole book was art inspired by music, and it was a theme, and I'm like, I want to do that. But I don't know. I'm guessing he's a lot faster than I am. I mean, I'm rather slow at making art, so doing a whole book of themed artwork would be quite an undertaking. Anyway, enough excuses, okay? I am going to do an art book at some point, but my other problem is that I'm super hard on my old art, and like, you need a lot of art for an art book. And so some of my older pieces, I'm like, I wouldn't want to put that in there. I wouldn't want to put that in there. And then I'm like, I have 3 pieces. Okay. So what goes in the book? I don't know. I will say this though, I am thinking more seriously about a coloring book, just because I really do love to do black and white line art, and there's a little bit less involvement with that, and I do have a lot of sketches and stuff, so I am considering looking into that. I have had a lot of requests for that, but like I say, I just kind of need to get my act together and morph into about 20 more people. And then I swear I'll have that for you. If anyone has any publisher hookups and want to help and make my book, then let me know about that. But yeah, so long-winded answer, but I'm working on it. I'm working up to it. I really, really do want to get there. That's a dream of mine, actually. So this is funny, slight sidebar. Here I go again. But some of you guys might have noticed my little Japanese Daruma doll that I have on my shelf over here, and he has one eye, because so what you do is you make a wish, and when you make your wish, you draw in one of his eyes, and then when your wish comes true, or you make it come true, then you fill in the other eye. And I wrote on here 10/30 2008. Weird, the anniversary is coming up for this. And he was my dream to get published in a major art magazine or a book. And that was my wish. So let's make that happen. I mean, I'm talking about, I have had a few little small magazines, but I'd love to be in Juxtapose or High Fructose or Beautiful Bazaar, something like that. So I want my little dream to come true someday. So he's here as a reminder to for me to just keep working hard and doing the best work that I can, and it'll happen. So anyways, yeah, there you go. All right, next I have a question from Tenshi7Art. Hi, Leilani. Any tips for being more social as an artist in real life and online? Thank you so much. Wow, that's a good question. That is something that I still struggle with a little bit because, like I said, I am a bit of an I guess you'd call it an extroverted introvert. I've seen people refer to this before, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because people are like, oh, you're so outgoing and everything. I'm like, I'm not. It's all fake. That's a big lie. But to be honest, I have gotten just better at it with practice. My first few times I had to go to like a little art event or show because I was ambitious and determined. I wanted to get my art out there, but I was very afraid and very vulnerable about talking to strangers and stuff. But literally, the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's just inevitable. So putting yourself in the situation is really the best way to become more social. And it's funny, I'm sure it's like people like celebrities or something, not that I'm a celebrity, but people that have to meet people a lot, they get very comfortable with like kind of not like canned answers, but you're kind of familiar with your subject. You usually get asked kind of the same questions a lot. And so you're kind of relaxed about it is what I mean. You don't have to like think about what you're going to say because you're comfortable with talking about your expertise. So that's helped me a lot. And I also noticed, like, just be a good listener. Sometimes like people love to talk, you'll find. So if you're shy, ask other people questions and they will fill it in for you. I always kind of do that at shows and stuff. It's not that I'm not genuinely interested, but it helps me sort of relax sometimes, and it helps the other person relax. So if there's a lull in the conversation, go, well, what do you think about this? Or, are you an artist as well? Or or you have a favorite artist, or whatever the subject matter may be, is just, if you're starting to feel nervous, just take a breath and just be a good listener for a few minutes. And most people love to talk about themselves. I do. I have a whole series where I do it. But it's great. And it's a great way to kind of like let yourself just relax and listen to what the other person's talking about and, make connections. There's great other things you can join. There's groups, there's cons, there's, get involved with art in your community. A lot of communities have like live workshops where you can go draw models, and it's really, really fun. So that's a great way to get yourself out there and involved. As far as like, being more social online, Instagram, post on other artists, get involved in the conversation with other artists, and don't spam other artists. I have to keep saying this, really, really reiterating it. It's not cute to like send other artists, just like blast them with your website and say, look at my stuff, look at my stuff, look at my stuff. It's not cute. So stop. Like, no one likes that. If you want to get actually involved with that artist, give them some feedback, give them some comments, get involved in the conversation. And eventually, if they say, oh, I'd love to see your work, then there you go. But don't do it before that. Like, I hate to sound like a bitter old lady, but that's one thing that's a pet peeve for me, when like artists will just like try to shove their work in my face. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, they're like, look at my stuff. I'm like, no. Okay. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure it's very nice, but like, it's kind of like building up trust with someone. It's like someone that you date, right? It's like when you first meet them, you're not like, oh, come see my room. No, thank you. It's like, can we have a cup of coffee first? So think of it that way. And just, if you keep doing good work, people are going to notice. And I will say this, I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry. But I like artists on Instagram that like are always awesome, polite. They give me good feedback. They, they're engaging in conversation. If I see like that they have a really interesting thumbnail, I'll go like, oh, what's that? Like, I like that thumbnail. And I'll be like, oh my God, they have beautiful art. So I do find artists and I'm like, cool. I'm so glad I found them. But it's not like it's because they just kept sending me, demanding me to look at their art all the time. I will find it. If it's good, if you keep doing good work, people will find it. So anyways, I hope that answers that for you. And yeah, so back to this painting here. You'll see I'm getting like a little bit timid around this green hand area. So speaking of problem solving, again, this is kind of a problem that I need to solve. And it's the fact that she wears, obviously, gloves, black gloves, because she has witchy hands. So the problem is I have this great little pose, and I like the hand pose, but it's black on black. So how do I make that hand read? Brian suggested that I actually make the gloves a very dark purple and then make the dress black, but I'm not sure. I may do that. It may work, but I also don't really want to destroy the great silhouette of her just black, long black gloves and black dress. So I'm going to come back to that, and I'm just going to sort of paint around it for now, and then, I don't know. If you guys have any suggestions, it's hard. I was thinking I may just kind of let it be a lost and found kind of thing, meaning like, you kind of just assume that her hand is there. And she wears a ton of jewelry. I guess I could show you guys this a little closer. She wears a bunch of rings and stuff, so I may just like paint the rings and everything around the fingers to, again, make it seem like there's a hand, but not really have much distinction of the fingers. I mean, if I really was a skilled painter, I could use highlight and, different actual values of black to make this work. But since I'm really trying to focus on simplicity, because simplicity is what I do best. I'm a very simple lady. I am trying to figure out another solution for that. So for now, I'm just going to kind of block around it, and then I'll go back to that later. I just got this new brush, and I don't even know if you guys can see it. It still has the tag on. But it's really, really awesome. It's a little tiny squared off. I might even use this for like my eyeliner or something. It's really great. They call it a chisel, a number 2 chisel. And I just got it the other day, and so far I really, really, really like it. So welcome to the family. All right, back to the questions. So now I have a question from Fire Amber 1. And she says that I have so many ideas and images in my mind that I want to draw, but when it gets onto paper, it's nothing like I imagined. I feel lost as an artist and I can't find my style. How do I get out of this, especially since whenever I draw anything, I hate it so much? Oh, Amber. I also am going to address this question for Brittany H. I think I already did, actually, when I was talking to Ivana in the first question. So all you guys, I'm kind of grouping together here. But it's exactly like I said earlier. You gotta cut yourself some slack and realize that the process is a problem-solving issue. So it's getting that idea and figuring out how to make it actually work. So think of it, like science, okay? So they're like, we need a cure for this, okay? So let's try this, let's try that. Let's figure out what we can make work. So just go easier on yourself. Ideas are great, though. Let me tell you this, and this is something I tell my kids, they're not all kids, in my online class all the time, is ideas cannot be taught. So if you have ideas, awesome. I hear from artists a lot, so consider yourself lucky, I would say. There's a lot of you artists who I also feel for you too, is sometimes you have some skill. You're good at drawing. You're probably even better than I am. And you go, I don't have any ideas. All I can do is take a photo and copy that, or like emulate something I've already seen. So if you're having unique and original ideas, then that is awesome. That's the hardest part. You can polish your techniques, and part of your frustration is probably that you need a little bit more technique. You're seeing it, but you don't know how to execute it. It's like I say, it's like, having a math problem, but you haven't gone to math class yet. You want to get to that answer, but you don't know the steps in between. So for you, I would especially recommend my class, the Art School Express, because I have a unit on helping you find your style and kind of some step-by-step processes that I can work with you to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. And we kind of just have fun with it. We experiment, we research. Think of it like any other scientific process, okay? You've got to do your research. You've got to find out what's already out there. How can I reinvent this? How can I combine my influences to make something unique? It's all about that. So, if I can help you personally, if you try my free trial of my class and just see if it's something that interests you, I'll probably be doing a sale for Christmas. So if you want to hold out for that, that might be a good thing for you. But yeah, just remember it's a process, and we all go through a very art's a challenge. If it was so easy to get images from our head to paper, everyone would probably do that, honestly. But a lot of people don't want to go through the pain and suffering and struggle it takes to get that idea as close to our vision as possible. And that's all you can really hope for, is trying to get it as close as you can, but having forgiveness and knowing that it's not feasible for it to come out exactly as you hope. It just doesn't work like that. So I hope that helps all of you guys, and just know I'm there with you. I honestly, the hardest part for me on any piece is not putting the paint down. This I've done. I kind of have a rhythm to it. I start with flat shapes, I build up and everything. This is more of the fun part. But getting to this point is the stressful, frustrating part. All of these pieces, I'm like, how do I get this idea? How do I put them in a space? How do I use colors to tell a story? Making all those decisions is exhausting. And it's sometimes weird to me, like when Brian comes home and he's like, well, what'd you do today? And I'm like, I sat and I tried to think of things. People don't understand. I know that doesn't seem like I did. It seems like I did nothing. But basically, I went through a process of elimination of well, that design doesn't look good. That design doesn't look good. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So it is part of the process. And I'm trying to forgive myself a little bit more and just be like, this is the hard part. Getting a design that works together, that's balanced, that is free of tangents, that has a nice color palette, that tells a narrative. There's a lot of stuff you got to work in there, and planning that is hard. It's I've said this, I think I made this analogy in my class also, is that it's like wanting to bake a cake, but you don't have a recipe. There is no recipe for this. So think about that first person that came up with the recipe for apple pie or whatever, okay? I'm sure at first they didn't know what they were doing, and they kept trying, and they're like, okay, I finally got it, and it tastes delicious. And so now I can recreate that, and other people can do it. But the person who wrote the recipe, I'm sure they went through a lot of trial and error before they got it to the point where it can be reproduced. So yeah, anyways, that's slightly tangenty and probably just repetitive of what I said on the first question to Ivana, but I know so many of you guys feel this way, so it's cool to have a discussion with you guys and see what your thoughts are. Do you agree with me on this? Do you have other other input, because it is the artist's plight for sure. And we are so hard on ourselves. We are our own biggest critics. And I am really tough on myself. Like, I know, like, for the most part, I come on here and I'm like, yay, happy. But I have dark moments where I'm like, I hate you, self. Why won't you do something amazing? What's wrong with you? I see everyone else doing amazing things. Why am I not doing that? So just know I'm right there with you. I'm right there in spirit and I'm feeling it. And we all have to just keep pushing through that, because the ones that will succeed will push through it. And the ones that will fail will say, this is too hard. I can't stand this feeling. I can't get past it, and they'll have to find something else to do. And that's the truth of it. Sometimes I do need a day where I'm like, no art today. I'm going to clean house. I'm going to do admin. I'm going to do email. I'm going to go outside and work in my garden. I can't do it. There's nothing there. So allow you to do that too. Don't think, oh my God, I'm a bad artist. I have a whole day to work and I can't do art. Because I get that feeling too, where I'm like, you chose this career path. You're lucky enough to do it. So get your shit together and go paint something. And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm numb. So I think that's also acceptable. And I don't think it means I'm lazy or I'm a failure. It's just that art is a different kind of beast. It's not like you can sit there and just power through sometimes. It's very, very difficult to do that. Some people have to, like my husband, Brian, who works at a studio. They're like, we need you to produce this by 5 p.m. So whether he's happy with it or not, he's got to turn it in. So that's even more pressure. I just work for myself, who I have the meanest, nastiest beast of an art director, which is me, to please on a regular basis. But I also don't have that pressure of, you better turn something in today. Okay. So otherwise, you're fired. So there's definitely pros and cons to both situations. Okay, next I have a question from Kimmy the Redhead Art. And Kimmy says, hi Leilani, I've been watching you for about 3 years now, and you finally gave me the courage to try acrylic. Oh, awesome. I'm glad. But she says, now that I have bought some paints, canvases, and tools, I am terrified I will mess it up. Like, make a mistake that will ruin the canvas and piece completely. From what I understand, it isn't like that with watercolors. Do you have any tips, words of encouragement for someone who's afraid of trying a new medium? Oh, you sweet thing. I know. I will tell you this, though. Actually, I would say it is the opposite. Acrylic is a lot more forgiving than watercolor. So I'm not sure who told you that. Watercolor is a different thing. Acrylic, you can layer and layer and layer, and don't worry about that canvas, because if you screw it up bad, if you're like, oh man, it's really bad, you can literally gesso over it and paint all over again. It will not hurt it. You can do as many layers of acrylic as you want. It might get a little thick and textury, but that's not always the worst thing. But watercolor is like, once it's there, you can't take it off, or you can't layer it like that. It doesn't work that way. Watercolor takes a lot more confidence, I feel like, because you have to be kind of sure what you're gonna do before you start doing it. Because paper can only take so much paint and water until it really starts to buckle and get peely. So I feel personally that watercolor is a lot more unforgiving. It's fun. It's good if you want to just experiment and you're not too worried about what happens. So if you want to just put some water down and let the colors kind of flow around and go kind of abstract, that's kind of what I use it for when I'm, trusting the medium to kind of do its thing. But I am a lot more of a control freak as far as shapes and edges and things. So watercolor in general is not for me, because it's you can't ever erase what you've done. You could paint white gouache or white acrylic over a mistake, but then you can't put watercolor over that. So I'm not really sure. I would tell you just to kind of just go with it with the acrylic, You might like, if the canvas is too much for you, you can also get these nice little canvas pads called Canvasette and just use it for experimentation and just say, whatever, this doesn't have to be any final thing. I know sometimes some people get very ambitious and they buy like a big canvas and then they go, oh my God, I'm really afraid to ruin this thing. So I would also recommend, depending on your work style, I definitely don't encourage everyone to be like me, but since I suffer from a very similar syndrome where I look at something and like blank like that and I'm too intimidated, so I come up with a plan first. So I think that might help you do some drawings, do some thumbnails, go through the whole artistic process. I teach this in my class as well, if that's something that might give you more confidence of where to start with something. Get a good concept first, and then you can either transfer it using Sorel transfer paper, or you can go freehand. So some people like to work a lot more loose than I do. They like to come up with a concept and they come up with basically the composition, but they don't really go into any detail or anything. They leave that part for the actual painting process. So that might be something that you would like to do as well. So I would recommend that. Do some sketching, do some planning, and then when you start to go to canvas, you won't be so intimidated as to what you're going to do because you'll already know. So I hope that helps you, and maybe just tell yourself, okay, this one's just going to be a for fun thing, and I don't have to show it to anybody. I mean, a lot of times that's the scary part, right? I have that as well. It's like, oh, it's crap. This has got to go on Instagram. This has got to go out to the public. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure to deal with. I definitely understand that very, very well. So good luck, Kimmy. I hope that you have fun. Do not give up on the acrylic, though. I think that you might like it if you give it a chance. And like I said, any mistakes can be painted over, which is a really big positive with acrylic. All right, next I have a question from Steffi E. Do you do any creature art? No, not really. I mean, you can watch all my videos for that. I've done, like, my Pan's Labyrinth fawn-inspired piece, Medusa. I like to kind of do that kind of thing, but I don't do pure creatures, so. Next I have a question from Moro Chassis Ruby. I don't know. Sorry, that one's a mouthful. Whoops, you're not even seeing what I'm painting here. Hang on, we're upside down. We're in the upside down right now. The other thing I've said this before, I think, but like, don't be afraid of like flipping your painting like every which way. Whatever's easiest on your wrist to make a nice clean stroke. I mean, sometimes when you guys are watching, I try to kind of keep it from getting too crazy. But there's nothing wrong with like painting from a different direction. I mean, probably most of you guys do this naturally, but maybe you don't even think of doing it. Like, this is a hard thing to do. And then you're like, well, just turn the actual painting so that you can do that. I probably won't without saying. Okay, so anyway, Formarochasi Rubia asks, how do you manage to cope with the feelings of abandonment to your pieces of art? No matter how much I try, I cannot get over it. I miss the piece even if I have copies of the original. This has prevented me from selling many works, even if buyers are willing to pay for it. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you. I don't have that problem. I want to get paid. I want money. So I'm like, get out of here. Get out. Fly away, little painting. I don't know. I don't really have that issue, honestly, because like I put my prints around, and that's a real one, but like I have like my canvas reproductions, like I make for myself as well. So I don't know, maybe you should get the canvases. That kind of helps. Like they're there. They're never gone, like really. I am not attached to my originals in that way. So I don't really know what to advise you, because you say you have copies and that doesn't help you. I guess I would say, I mean, you don't have to, I don't know if you're wanting to do this as a profession. maybe you don't have to. No one's telling you have to sell your art. I have to. I have come this far. I have made the commitment that I have to sell this stuff to pay my rent, feed my guinea pigs. So yeah, it's always good for me. So good luck with that one. Next I've got a question from Anime Chick. Hi, I love your personality and art. Oh, thank you. It's a big inspiration with my art, but whenever I paint, I get paint on my arms, face, legs, and shirt. My question is, does this happen to you? And also, what's your favorite candy? Okay, bye. All I will say is that you're doing something right. The messier you are, the more passion, right? I had this quote that I said a long time ago in one of my videos, and I was like, it's not art until you have paint on your hands, and I think it's true. It's actually, before I started filming, I had some paint from last night that wasn't completely dry, and I stuck my whole arm in it, and I'm like, oh great, that's on my sweatshirt and everything. But that's just artist life, I guess, you know. What's really funny though is when I usually have it like all around my nails, like in my nail beds and like under my nails, and like it looks hella nasty. Like people probably like, oh girl, wash your hands, what you been doing? So I always ruin manicures. That's a big one for me. I just destroy them. Sorry, it's just like part of it. So yeah, so yes, that definitely does happen to me. The other day, I think I shared this on Instagram, but I was doing working on an Inktober piece, and I had one of those refillable ink pens. So I was trying to put the liquid ink in there, and I pulled the cap off, and it exploded ink all over my face. And then I tried to like wipe it off, and it just smeared, and it was ridiculous. I started laughing, and like I don't even know. No one will probably even get this reference, but all I could think of was my favorite Ernest movie, Ernest Goes to Jail, which is I have a guilty soft spot for that movie. And there's a part where he's like on the jury and he has his pen in his mouth and he like cracks the pen off and the ink is all over his face and he's like trying to wipe the ink off with a piece of paper and he just starts chewing on the paper and it's just like it's so ridiculous. And that was totally me. I was like, the more I tried to wipe it, like the worse it got. And I should have made a video of it because I'm sure it was very entertaining. So yeah, that's my life. I always have stuff all over myself, including food and usually lipstick on my teeth. I finally, thank you Jesus, have found a lipstick finally by Lime Crime. I'm wearing my brand new one today called Utopia. And it stays on forever and it doesn't dry out my lips and the colors are saturated and amazing. So I love these new lipsticks. So I'm very, very excited. I finally found one that's not on my teeth. And every time I go out with people, they're like, you have lipstick on your teeth. Like, why do people always say that? Like, I do it on purpose. I hate that. Like, I have been to more things. Like, actually, someone left me a comment on YouTube once, and which was really annoying because I'm like, okay, that video is already pre-recorded. So you telling me that I have lipstick on my teeth is like really not going to do any good because I'm not going to like reshoot the whole video because I had a little lipstick on my teeth. But people always say it like you're disgusting, you have poop on your hands or something. They're like, you have lipstick on your teeth. And I'm like, sorry about it. Like, it happens. Sorry. What was the question? Anime Chick, what's your favorite candy? I love all candy. Actually, we just, for the first time ever, Brian and I are going to be home on the actual day of Halloween. So we went to the store and we bought a bunch of bags of candy and we've already eaten most of it. I would say I'm probably, I don't know, I'm a conundrum because I love chocolate, but I also love like sour gummy type things. So I think we got the Heath Bar, Almond Joy, and like Reese's peanut butter cups. I love all those. But I really like the like Sour Patch Kids and stuff. I don't know. Frankly, I don't discriminate on candy that much. I really, really enjoy candy. Okay, this isn't a question, but I just find it so hilarious I'm gonna read it. And it's from Karen. And she says, take hundreds of selfies a day and no one bats an eye. Create a painting slightly inspired by yourself and everyone loses their minds. I hope that you mean that like that meme of the Heath Ledger Joker where he's like that, because that's what I'm picturing. And she says, "Don't worry, Leilani, keep painting. You're an awesome artist." Oh, thank you, Karen. I that was in reference to like this painting right up here, as I got like a lot of hate from people. They're like, "Oh my god, it looks just like you. It looks just like you." And I'm like, okay, Jesus Christ, I posed for it. I'm sorry. It's true though, Karen, right? I mean, why do people like care? Someone else commented, I'll have to find it, was awesome. And they said that there's many scholars that believe that the Mona Lisa is actually a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci. And I've heard that before. And I hope it is, because I feel like that would be the most awesome thing ever, that the most famous painting in the world is actually a drag self-portrait of the artist. That's amazing. And I feel like Leonardo would have done that. Like, I think he's that type of dude. I think he was really cool. And I hope that's the case. But I do wonder why that is. And, you know, I have never even thought of it that way, Karen, but it's so true. It's like people are like, you know, selfies is the thing. There's people on Instagram with millions of followers who are purely taking pictures of themselves, and you don't say, "Oh, you're vain," and then one artist like paints something inspired by themselves and does a self-portrait, and it's like, "That's so vain, you're so full of yourself, all your paintings look like you." And I'm like, all right, okay. I mean, maybe they do. I don't really like care. It's like, just people often paint what inspires them and what they know. And I sort of feel like I paint an idyllic female character from my own mind, and maybe I model myself after that. I don't know, chicken or the egg, but I mean, I'm cool with that. And like I said, everyone loves Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is everywhere. She is like such a praised artist. Maybe people made fun of her when she was alive. They're like, "Why do you keep painting yourself, crazy lady?" But she only painted self-portraits. So what's the problem with that? She's like, "I got a unibrow. I'm awesome. Suck it." So I'm all for that. Girl power. Nasty woman. Okay, sorry. We started to go off in a weird direction there. So, okay, next I have a question from, I guess this is also not a question, but I also find it comedic. This is from Francis H, and they say, "Okay, I'm sorry, but you look so much like Ramona from Scott Pilgrim. I'm not sure if you are. I am so confused." Thank you. I am not. The actress would be Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is much more awesome and successful than I am, and probably wouldn't be wasting her time on YouTube. However, I have been told many times that we are doppelgangers, that we look very similar. And no relation to her. I think it's just a weird genetic thing that we look a little bit similar. So no, not her. I cosplay her because I love Ramona. So yeah, so hopefully that clears up the confusion. I'm not actress by day and artist by night, although that would be kind of cool. Yeah, not Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Leilani Joy. Okay, so at this point, I think I finally have a green that I like. So I made a few tweaks to my initial color, and I did a little testy over here. Testy. Oops, this is not anatomy class. Okay, so I'm gonna continue there. Oh, and pick up with the next question that is from April P. And she says, "Would you ever do a video blog of your Christmas holiday with your family? I'm sure your family is lovely. Also, what's your favorite animal?" Oh, that's sweet, April. So I have mixed feelings about like how personal I like to get with my videos. I don't really like, I don't know. I mean, I could ask my family if they'd like to be part of it sometimes. Some of you guys have probably met my parents. If you've been to one of my shows at Disney, they always come and they're very friendly people. They embarrass me. And they go, "Oh, this is our daughter's art." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you guys." But they're cute. They're proud parents. But I don't know. I do like a little bit of separation, as you guys might imagine, from my private life and my professional art life. Just because, most of you guys are so awesome. I love sharing with you and being open about my life outside of my art. But I also have gotten some people who are strange. Like I'm not strange already. But stranger than me, in fact. And that can be a little bit weird. And it like I said, it's like celebrities or something. They kind of like some things to be private, even though it's hard for it to be. So I probably won't do that too much. But you never know. I might have them come on as a guest and I don't know, they could answer some questions for you too. I know my husband, Brian, who's also an artist, I like to have him maybe come on and do a paint along with us or something. Because he has obviously some great advice from a more corporate, professional concept art and film background. So he can definitely answer some questions for you guys that I can't. And he seems pretty comfortable with being on camera. He's snuck in here a few times and been like, "Oh, you're recording?" I'm like, "Yeah, get in on it." And thank you to that lovely YouTuber who was like, "Who's that man? He's yummy." Well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. He's mine. Back off. Okay. Anyways, my favorite animal, guinea pigs. Yeah, they're in the cage, sucking on the water bottle and making a lot of noise. I think I said this before though, that seals are actually one of my favoriteest ever animals. I was so obsessed with them in elementary school that kids would tease me. In fact, the boys were very mean, and at lunchtime they would tell me these terrible stories about how seals are clubbed in Antarctica to the point where I was like almost crying. Kids are freaking mean, right? I love seals. I have an elaborate collection. Oh, actually, hold on 1 second. I dug this out to show you guys before, and then I forgot to actually show it to you. So I had a very elaborate collection of seal, walrus, and sea lion plush toys. And this is them having Thanksgiving dinner one year. And yeah, I loved them very much, and they all had names, and they were all my children and everything. So yeah, I definitely probably have to go with the seals as my favoriteest animal. Okay, my next question comes from Armani H, and they have a couple of questions. So the first is, I live in a small town in Indiana, and for some reason we don't have art print shops. Should I go around to different towns looking for one, or should I go to an online print store? Also, do you still have all your guinea pigs? As in, did you get any new additions or lose them over the years? I've been thinking about getting myself a couple, but I haven't owned a pet in a few years. The quicker question is, I have had one guinea pig before my current boys, and his name was Pokey. And I can't talk about him because I'll cry because I loved him that much. But I have him immortalized here in this beautiful, beautiful fan painting by an incredible artist and fan named Blair. And I love this painting to death. And it stays by me all the time right here in my studio. I hope she knows how much I treasure this painting of him. It looks exactly like him. It really is just his personality, and he was very, very special, and many of you guys know him. He used to be on my videos a lot of the time. I have two new boys now who are father and son duo, and I love them as well. They have their own unique personalities. But Pokey was definitely something special. No shade to my new guys. But he was just super chill. Like, he wasn't ever, like, in his cage. He used to just sit by me when I worked, and he wouldn't chew on anything. He wouldn't get in trouble. My new guys are kind of chewers, so I let them play on the floor, and they chewed through my stereo cable, and that was into that. But he was just something super special. He was my little buddy, and I loved him, and they are great, great pets. I do recommend that if you are not home very much to have two of them. They get very lonely. And unless you're there to hold them and hug them a lot, it's nice for them to have a little friend. Pokey, since I work from home, he was very much got a lot of attention from me. So he was kind of cool with just being single. But yeah, really great pets. To answer your other question, I can't really give you a definitive answer. Again, people ask me all the time, like, where should I get my prints? How should I have my prints made? I can't answer that because it has to do with your preference and the type of art that you do. If you do watercolors, you're going to want very different specifications than someone who does acrylic paintings. You might want to use watercolor paper. Depends on what kind of paper, how much you can spend. It depends what size you want to do. So I really I stray away from telling you what and where to do that. Because I do a lot of my own printing now. Like I've said, I've invested in a professional printer because I like to control my colors and my papers, and I'm kind of a stickler about that. Not to mention, I have a lot of styles that I sell now, and so it's often more feasible for me to self-print than to order in bulk for every single piece that I do. I've said before I have an Epson professional large format that I bought from Epson. As far as local or online, local is sometimes easier, especially when you're first starting out, because you can discuss these things with them. However, online ones are getting better. You can call them. You can receive samples before you order in bulk. I would definitely recommend that. You want to make sure you're happy with the quality before you order hundreds of them that you're not going to like. So it really is trial and error and research on your part. So I can't really tell you guys. I haven't worked with a ton of online printers. Some of them were great. Some of them were not so great. Some of them were great, and then they've messed up. And so I don't know. I kind of feel like you guys are going to have to do your own legwork on that one. Next, I have a question from Trini Chops. Hi, Trini Chops. How you doing? She wrote me a really nice little compliment here, so I'll just thank her for that. So she says, on a less arty and soppy note, I'm curious, were you Team Bianca, Adore, or Courtney for season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race? Bianca. I was Team Bianca pretty much from day one. I was like, that bitch is funny and smart, and she's gonna slay all these other queens. And I was right. I had a love-hate for Adore. That sounds kind of weird, but I actually have grown to love her a lot more after the show. I felt that on the show, she really got away with a lot and being very sloppy and not really knowing what the hell she was doing. But yet she is like this kind of like lovable dodo. She's kind of a lovable dum-dum. I mean, she really is. And I enjoy her, and I find her very entertaining. And I think she is a talented singer and performer. And, hey, she's fierce. Her outfits not always work on the show. I definitely think she's polished her look now, and I really love her, like, chola grunge goth thing. I love that. And I love that she embraces her own style now. I'll say I was really sad, no spoilers, I was really sad that she left All Stars. She decided it just wasn't right for her. I think that happens like in the first episode, so it's not really like a big spoiler, but I was very sad because I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing what she's gonna do now and stuff. So yeah, I love her. Courtney was an incredible performer, visually amazing, but honestly, on the show, I was kind of like, I don't know. She was so, like, mean to Jocelyn, who I really thought was a really sweetheart, and I really liked her. And I don't know. She was a little full of herself and, like, a little bit plastic fake. I don't know. So I kind of, as the show went on, I didn't really like her as much. And she kept saying, I'm already Australia's next top model or whatever, or drag superstar. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that doesn't like mean you should win. So I was super happy when Bianca won that one. RuPaul's Drag Race. We could talk about that all day. I need a whole blog just for that. Okay, so I'm running a little bit long today, so I still have a lot of questions that I want to get to. So I'm going to divide this paint along into 2 parts, so you're actually going to get double the fun today, because, you know, I'm in my cute little outfit and all this stuff. So I will finish answering the questions and I will split it into a part 2 episode. So that's all for this episode. If you want to see the continuation, then click on part 2 and I'll meet you over there.